In a few weeks, we're gonna move into solving for letters. So I'm gonna give you guys operations, and there will be a letter in there, and we have to learn how to solve for it. So in order for us to know how to solve things, I think it's a good reminder to go over the order operations. I know some of you guys are familiar with PEMDAS, but I know when I cover it with you guys, I cover it as GEMS. So the way this thing goes is groups first. Anthony, thank you. So groups first, then we go for exponents, multiplication, division, and the last thing we do is subtract or add. Groups, I call it groups because we can see it in parentheses, like Pamela says it. We can see it in parentheses, but we can see it in a fraction as well. What I mean with a fraction, I can go like 5 plus 3 over 2. When either the top or the bottom is not simple, that's a group. So that's what I call it groups. For exponents, we usually see a little number on the top. That little number at the top tells us how many times we're going to multiply the big number. Multiplication, division, or subtraction, addition, I think you guys get that. So I'm not going to go over it. Looking at number 1, I see no groups. I see no exponents. I see multiplication and division. I see 2 operations. Since they're treated at the same level, I'm going to do whichever one is at the left. I go from left to right, kind of like how we read. So I see division at the left, so that's the first one I'm going to do. But if multiplication was at the left, I would have multiplied first. So go from left to right. So I'm going to go 12 divided by 2 is 6 times 5 plus 2. Then I'm still dealing with multiplication, division. 6 times 5 is 30. So I have 30 plus 2. And at the end, 30 plus 2, which we know that as 32. Remember, addition, subtraction is the last thing we do. Unless it is in a group. Right? You guys see parentheses, then add or subtract. But if it's not in the parentheses, that's the last thing we do. Looking at number 2, if I'm going to do my groups, I see there's a group at the beginning and there's a group at the end. And I'm calling it groups because they're in parentheses. The first one, how much is 6 times 2? 12. The second one, how much is 4 minus 1? 3. Between them, I see a division sign. 4. So 4. Then, let me look for my previous class, number 10. Give him a little bit of trouble. So let me take a look at that one. Groups, I'm looking at a group there. Inside the group, I see a subtraction and I see exponent. But I know the last thing that I do is add or subtract. So let me deal with the exponents first. How much is 1 to the second power? 1. Because that represents 1 times 1, so it is 1. So that group is 3 minus 1. Right, because we did the exponent. How much is 3 minus 1? 2. So the whole group is 2. So I have 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Our answers should have no decimals. Like in real life, we can deal with decimals, but for our worksheets, I made sure there were no decimals. If there is one decimal, go back and check your work because there's a mistake in it. I think you should have no decimal. If you have a decimal, double check your work. Any questions on the worksheet? Yes. Which one? 3. All right, let's take a look at number 3. I see no groups, but then I go to exponents. Remember, 3 to the third is 3 times 3 times 3. That little number on top tells me how many times I'm going to repeat the number. How much is 3 times 3 times 3? 27. I still see another exponent here. Right, that is 2 times 2. The little number on top told me how many times. I think we can agree that's 4. At the end, I have 27 plus 4, which is 31. Remember, for exponent, these were bad examples, but let's say I had something like 3 to the second. That is 3 times 3. Right? The 3, 2 times. The little exponent tells me how many times to repeat the multiplication. Alright, any other questions? No questions?